Science on COVID is rapidly emerging, but to say that we know anything about it is erroneous, which is why I am so frustrated with the government and with the regulatory groups in medicine like the CDC and the NIH and Johns Hopkins University now getting in on this. Now, we have universities that are declaring knowledge of how many people have died from COVID. That is scientifically impossible that they can say this many people died of COVID. They're not dying of a virus per se. You don't see any of the signs in those 5,000 patients.
In many places in this country, Americans cannot go to the park with their children. They can't go to church. They can't have family dinners with their relatives. They can't go to the dentist. They can't get a knee replacement. They can't get married. Tens of millions of them can't afford to do much of anything right now because they're unemployed.
How many businesses in this state or country even can afford to stay shut down for a couple, 3 months on end? Not many that I know of.
But we're going to hunt down that last 0.1% and say, you got to get inside, you got to cut it out, and you got to distance.
The Savannah Police Department is using 5 drones to monitor the city.
Please help us keep you safe. Thank you for your cooperation.
We'll fly as often as we're needed and for as long as we're needed. We not only have video, but we also have the feet on the ground to make them break it up. This is just a warning.
Johnson says he hopes people will listen, but if they don't, the mayor says he will take any necessary actions like closing the city's parks.
And won't hesitate to do it if we are getting information back that people are not complying.
All over the world right now, public health and safety groups are turning to drones to help slow the spread of the coronavirus. Officials are using them to monitor public spaces and enforce social distancing rules. A recent study found that there are nearly 1,600 agencies in the U.S. who now have drones, and our Errol Barnett is in New York.
Manufacturer gave away 100 devices as part of its disaster relief program. Aaron Coffer has also tested but not deployed other drone-backed technologies like measuring body temperature.
It's equipped with a FLIR, the forward-looking infrared camera, which can detect heat signatures.
That technology was meant to be deployed in Connecticut, where the Westport Police Department planned to pilot a drone that monitored heat signatures and tracked distances between people. It could even recognize if someone coughed.
Due to COVID-19, the NYPD has assigned hundreds of officers to enforce social distancing rules, responding to calls of overcrowding at stores, parks, and other gathering spaces.
This week, for instance, at the skate park at Venice Beach, and people were there, so we had to put sand into the skate park to make that unusable for now.
We're hoping that people will continue to adhere to the governor's shelter-at-home order and continue to only go out if they have to go out for essential services. But other than that, we're employing people to just stay home.
Mayor Bill de Blasio recently tweeted about Hasidic residents defying social distancing measures in Brooklyn.
Garcetti, you may have just heard, brag that he was surveilling people's cars and tracking their cell phone use.
To the current health emergency, members of the public are reminded to keep a safe distance of 6 feet from others.
We're not stupid. We know if we have COVID, we stay home. If we don't, though, we have a country and we have the United States of America where businesses we're losing them.
And if you don't own a business, you should be going to that business. If you're not hungry, you should go to that restaurant and order food just to take care of our economy.
But they'd better not complain about it. If they voice their complaints online, they're liable to be censored by the tech companies. If they complain in public, they could be arrested, and a number of them have been.
This is what this is what side one. Don't cry on that.
This video surfaced of a young boy getting handcuffed and taken away for selling chips and candies on a train in the Bronx. And this video shows the arrest of 24-year-old Curtis Miller in Brooklyn.
Why y'all stopping? Why y'all stopping for? What are y'all stopping for?
I'm telling you, back
illegal.
Up. Back up.
Illegal. Don't touch me.
Back up.
Miller cites his arrest was unwarranted.
When you watch the video, you can see, like, I was never outside. Like, I was actually about to go home. Less than 5 seconds of being back in our community, I'm being harassed.
The whims of our political leaders are now unquestioned law. Dissent has been banned, and that ban is relentlessly enforced by the willing stooges in our media who have finally stopped pretending they don't hate you. They definitely do. What country is this? Well, it's a country in a lockdown. We're told we have no choice but to do this to stop our lives completely. Mass quarantines, they tell us again and again, are the only way to save lives. But that's a lie. They don't know it's true, despite what they claim. There is no scientific record to consult. It's never been done. We're currently living through the largest and most expensive experiment ever conducted in human history. We have spent trillions of dollars and crushed millions of people purely on the guess that a nationwide lockdown would save us from the coronavirus. But in fact, there's not much evidence that it's true.
The reason I'm here today is because I want you to know the truth about this virus. I am currently treating COVID patients in my office. Within 24 hours, the patient was completely symptom-free. And here's the take-home message for all of you. It's called hydroxychloroquine. Hydroxychloroquine. It costs $13. Right. $13. It's been on the market for 60 years. It is the candy for lupus. It is considered a vitamin for arthritis patients. And for some reason, those bureaucrats that are standing next to our president that think that they know more about medicine than I do are telling me I can't use it. In fact, not only are they telling me I can't use it, in 2 states it's completely illegal to prescribe this, right? Most of my colleagues are afraid to use it because the agencies that they work for have told them that the risk is too high. Liability, it hasn't been FDA approved. Well, FDA can approve you know what on my behind. I have patients at Lozano Medical Clinic that are cured of this disease. I have patients that recovered within 48 hours. In fact, the illness that they had was more caused by the stress and the fear of the propaganda that's being spewed on the news media than by the actual virus.
If you look at the history of Big Pharma, they're enormously successful at amazing PR and marketing.
My clinic's not allowed to be open right now, which is so ironic. If you think you have a hospital overload capacity, then don't close all the clinics.
If you look at the celebrities' open letter for us and our goals, it matches exactly with Agenda 2030. How coincidental. And, you know, their goals for sustainable living. If you look up Agenda 2030, it's really exactly aligned to what the celebrities are calling for. And really, it's actually so much aligned to what's happening right now in our world and what they're trying to push on us.
The Gates Foundation and the Clinton Global Initiative, both together with the WHO, CDC, UNICEF, all these other people we didn't ever elect, okay? Together, the Gates Foundation created what's called Gavi, Vaccine Alliance. And if you look at their consortium, it's vaccine manufacturers, UNICEF, World Bank, and they funded that to about $1 billion. And so the Clinton Global Initiative and the Gates Foundation are sort of the two doppelgangers, sort of the twins in this, are part of this with a whole consortium. And the goal is they're really the frontsmen for Big Pharma. They're the frontsmen pushing, and when you actually work out the numbers, they're basically carving out the different vaccines, and they have the pharma consortium behind them. And what's their business model? Let's just look at it from their quote unquote entrepreneurial business model. This is a goal. So imagine if we could get everyone having to get a vaccine. Well, in 2015, the World Health Organization, the UN, etc., a bunch of these collaborators created the Strategic Development Goals 3, SDG 3. What was SDG 3? It was essentially similar to this process. We're going to paint a utopia. We're going to have no more pollution, no more income inequality, no more poverty. 17-point stuff and 17-point plan, clearly architected. Anyone can go read this. It's not even hidden. SDG 3. Now, adjunct to that, so that's the utopia that gets painted. By the way, supported by Gavi. All right, Gavi is one of the big sponsors of SDG 3, supported by the Clinton Global Initiative and the Gates Foundation. So this is the PR. We're going to deliver you utopia. Right behind that is IA 2030 about immunization, which says, the front cover of that says, we must not leave anyone behind. The front sentence says, everyone, everywhere will be vaccinated. They must realize the health benefits.
The World Health Organization says it's working with global leaders and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to develop vaccines, tests, and treatments for the coronavirus.
This is a landmark collaboration to accelerate the development, production, and equitable distribution of vaccines, diagnostics, and therapeutics for COVID-19.
And in the connection between these two, they say to achieve at least 14 of those points of the 17, which will lead us to utopia, we must immunize. So they've connected immunization to everything. The workforce, climate change always also needs vaccination, everything.
Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates has continued the fight against coronavirus, investing billions of dollars on the construction of factories working to develop a COVID-19 vaccine. The American business magnate has revealed the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation will select and fund 7 vaccine candidates.
So this is a well thought out business model, and that's why Gates funded hundreds of millions of dollars to McKinsey to do all of this. So those people listening out there, you need to understand these people are very sophisticated, highly organized, very adept.
We need tracing agents in the hundreds and hundreds of people, right? You take the test and then you trace back all the contacts. It's never been done on this scale before. This is an army of tracers. They're basically investigators. We will do that.
You know, they're releasing now this army of contact tracers. They're called contact tracers. If this doesn't scare the crap out of everyone, wake people up, I don't know what is. What is a contact tracer? Contact tracer finds, discovers, and interviews every single person who tests positive for COVID. They track that person down, and then they interview them, and then they find all of that person's contacts and all of that person's interactions, all the people that they have interacted with recently, and their whereabouts.
Contact tracing is very important, but we need a national core of healthy people who are properly trained to go out and do this contact tracing. We need the bodies. We need the bodies.
Contact tracing. Is that what they're calling it now? Because it seems to me that this is the nightmare panopticon total surveillance grid that crazy conspiracy theorists have been warning about the creation of for decades now. But no, you silly conspiracy theorists, you were completely wrong. That never existed and you were crazy and paranoid for even caring about it. But, oh, here it is, and it's now called contact tracing.
Would contact anybody who has tested positive to learn about their recent activities, who they may have been in contact with. And it's ensuring that people can be quarantined and at times separated in a very supportive way.
But one of the things that you have to be able to do is to track people.
We are beginning a program today, and it's a pilot program which will certainly grow into something larger and larger, and that is a community contact tracing program. We've done contact tracing all along. That a contact is a person who's been exposed to someone that we document to have the COVID infection.
The predicate for getting back to some semblance of normalcy is our ability to identify individuals through testing, to be able to trace their contacts, to isolate individuals that have either been exposed or quarantine people that are tested positive. And that's just going to require an army of folks and the capacity of consideration from individuals to allow for their privacy to be impacted by that kind of acuity of attention based upon where they've been and who they talk to. And the capacity of consideration from individuals to allow for their privacy to be impacted by that kind of acuity of attention based upon where they've been and who they talk to.
And at the moment, in most parts of the world, due to lockdown, most of the transmission that's actually happening in many countries now is happening in the household, at family level. In some senses, transmission has been taken off the streets and pushed back into family units. Now we need to go and look in families to find those people who may be sick and remove them and isolate and remove them.
When we find someone who has a COVID infection, those people are immediately isolated. But we also work with them to figure out who their contacts were. But the purpose of this program is to bring on people. As we do more testing, we will find more and more people who have COVID-19. And again, we'll isolate every one of them, and we will find every one of their contacts, and we will make sure that they stay quarantined, and we'll check in with them every day. In other words, what this program means is that we're going to do a more complete job, and we're going to do a more meticulous job. It's not just our county that's bringing more people on. There are going to be thousands of people hired who will be these contact investigators throughout the state. And this is occurring in many, many other states as well, perhaps all of the states in our country. We also realize that as we find more contacts, some of the people we find are going to have trouble being isolated. For instance, if they live in a home where there's only one bathroom and there are 3 or 4 other people living there, and those people don't have COVID infection, we're not going to be able to keep the person in that home. Every person who we're isolating, for instance, needs to have their own bathroom. And so we'll be moving people like this into other kinds of housing that we have available.